morning. Welcome. My name is Steve Chazin. I worked for Apple for about 10 years, and I'm going to tell you this morning the story, largely untold, about how marketing, better marketing, saved Apple. Apple was that close to going out of business, and I lived through that period of time, and it changed me. And I want to describe how any company, any of your clients, any of the people you work with, can use better marketing like Apple has to turn itself around. This happened 12 years ago in Cancun, Mexico. Ironically, I was working for Apple on what they called the Golden Apple Voyage. When you are in sales, like I was at the time, when you do well, they take you and your spouse to a wonderful vacation for a whole week, all expenses paid. And we went to a beautiful place. This is what it looked like. We stayed in a beautiful hotel, the Four Seasons Hotel. It was like paradise for me. I enjoyed it. It was the first time I had been there. I just had lunch in this little place on the beach. This is the exact table I had lunch with my wife, the VP of sales for Apple, and his wife. And we had talked about how many people that year had already died on this little small stretch of beach in Mexico because of the way the storms were out in the sea. 35 people had died that year already. But I thought, that can't happen to me. I'm a strong swimmer. It's a beautiful day, no problem. So I didn't heed the warnings of not going swimming right after you eat. I took my wedding ring off and gave it to my wife because in those days I weighed a lot less. And it was a little loose on me. And I told my wife to call me back in 10 minutes. Sorry, went the wrong way. In 10 minutes, because I had to make an important phone call. I actually had to call the person at Dartmouth College who was going to buy about 3,000 Macintosh computers from me because every student had to buy a Macintosh. And I didn't want to miss this call. So I said, I'm going to go swimming. I jumped in the beautiful ocean, swam for a while. I saw some friends of mine from Apple. They were about as far as that person right there, not that far away. So I started to swim. Right? Just easy swim, about 30, 40 seconds. Later, I popped my head up because I figured that's how long it would take me to get there. When I popped my head up and put my feet down, I had been pulled out to sea. Didn't even know it. And when I put my feet down, the ocean started to pull me down. I entered an area of the ocean where there was a sign that I missed. Actually, if I look carefully, I would have seen this sign, which says, you could drown if you go out here. There are these powerful things called rip currents. This is a picture of one where it actually creates another current under the water and pulls you out. There's nothing you can do about it. But I knew about it, and I knew how to get out of it. You're supposed to swim out to sea a little further, and that should free you up, and then you can swim back in. I tried everything, and nothing would work. And I started to feel myself go under each time, and all I could do was tread water just to keep my head above water, and then the next wave came in. And it started to get real scary for me, and I started at this point to think that I might need help, so I called for help. And then I started to think, really, this could be my last day on Earth. And I flash back to the day before when my wife and I climbed Chichen Itza. It's a pyramid that in those days you could walk up. But it was very dangerous to walk down because the steps were so small, you actually had to come down like this. And when I got down to the bottom, I realized that was really dangerous. There was a tiny sign that said, it is dangerous to climb. And it dawned on me that, I was going to die in Mexico. One wave after the other came in, and you know how you hear these stories about people's lives passing before their eyes? Well, it didn't really pass fast, but I started to get these snapshots, pictures of myself, my family, and I started to think of what their life would be without me and what I hadn't done. But I really was getting ready to die. I started to sort of say my goodbyes. And then I started to think, well, this would be my last trip with Apple. And this would be the last time that I would visit a beautiful place like Cancun. And then it got dark. Guess what? I didn't die. To it as well.
And so the big difference from what I'm hearing from you is privacy, because you can do some of these things already with different social networking sites, but not all in one and not as private?
Not with that kind of control. I could change my mind at any time and make that website private. So even though you had the access to it before, you don't anymore. I can also give you permission to add to it or modify it. Again, if I've taken a bunch of photos and everyone has red eye and I don't know how to fix it, my uncle who uses Photoshop does. He, on his computer using his copy of Photoshop, is changing those photos on his desktop. The red eye is removed everywhere on everybody else's copy. And unlike Flickr and other sites where they crunch down those files and put them on the web, you have the high-resolution files sitting on your hard drive so you can print them at home on your own printer.
Steve Chazin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.